Today we're going to learn how to set up mini hoops in your raised beds so you can protect your seedlings and plants from severe weather, animals, and pests. Plus, I'll show you the best way to cover your raised beds. So let's join a workshop I hosted on this very topic. What we're looking at here is a view of our gardens here in Kodiak, Alaska in midwinter. As you can see, covered raised beds play a really important role in our success in trying to grow year-round as much as possible. When it comes to gardening, winter is for waiting and dreaming. One of the most delightful things about a garden is the anticipation it provides, right? Now, growing inside of one of those snow-covered raised garden beds is a healthy crop of spinach. Now, remember, this is midwinter in Kodiak, Alaska, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's take a look at Dale's questions. Marion, I built a trial hoop with a means of attaching that allows for quick takedown. This is great. Before we look at the photos of Dale's trial hoop, let's talk about raised garden beds for a minute. So whether you build your own raised beds, or you purchase a kit, or you buy a modular metal raised bed, there may come a point when you need to install a protective cover. Now, a cover that's used to protect seedlings and larger plants from snow, sleet, heavy rain, strong wind, like these hardy greens here. But in addition to overwintering vegetables, maybe your goal is to stretch the growing season by planting earlier in the spring or harvesting later into the fall. Then covering your raised beds, in this case with a special reinforced plastic we'll talk about in a minute. This will protect the soil from rains that leach out precious nutrients. And it keeps the soil dry and fluffy, like in this case. Here I'm preparing a raised bed to plant garlic in the fall. I want the soil to stay reasonably dry to protect the garlic cloves from turning to mush. Dry soil is key to overwintering veggies. Now to Dale's awesome questions, starting with 2 photos showing his setup. The receptacle in the corner and the hoop to the right is separate. So he's put the raised bed joined in the corner, and then here is the hoop in place. This is a really great, easy way, foolproof way to keep your hoops in place. Because one thing that happens when you put together hoops, you might have maybe 3 in the middle and you have 1 on each end. And if you don't secure hoop in the soil well enough, those ends will tend to kind of cave in like this as you tighten down the plastic. So let's get on to Dale's specific questions. First of all is, what thickness of Durascrim, that's the plastic we use, do you recommend? And how far apart are your hoops to resist caving in from the snow? He says, my raised bed is a 4x8. Should they be 2 feet apart, or can they tolerate 4 feet apart? So let's start with the first one. Now, Durascrim comes in rolls of 6 mil and 10 mil. This is what it looks like. I think we use the 6 mil variety. I'm going to go online and show you. You can see here, it comes in 6 mil, and then below on the bottom there, 10 mil. I even asked my husband, he says, I think we got 6 mil. I think 10 mil will be a little much. And it comes in different widths, 8 by 100, 10 by 100, 12 by 100. And in a minute, we'll talk about how to decide what width to get. So here's a close-up of what I'm talking about. Now, Durascrim, it protects against the rain and snow and gusty winds, but it's not something you normally find in a garden. It's mostly used to create temporary walls and enclose construction sites or cover, say, temporary windows. But one day in the late 1990s, maybe mid 1990s, I saw it being used where a new house was being built. And I asked for some scrap pieces to try covering our hoops in the garden. It's waterproof, rot proof, and chemical resistant. So this is a photo of the actual roll that I found in our hardware store. And I took another picture here to kind of turn the label so you could see it. Now, I'm not someone who promotes use of plastic. I just want to make that very clear. But I like Durascrim because it's strong, it's lightweight, and it's resistant to UV light, which is what generally causes the breakdown of plastics that we use in the gardens and so on. Plus, the heavy duty diamond, what's called scrim that you see here, that reinforcement stops tears immediately. It surrounds and stops the puncture or the rip from going beyond, okay? And it lasts for many years. In fact, some of our sheets that we have lasted over 10 years in our harsh climate of coastal Alaska. So Dale asked, how far apart are your hoops to resist caving in from the snow? He's got a 4 by 8 foot bed. So snow load and heavy wind are big issues when it comes to gardening in general, right? And setting up mini hoops that last. So let's take a closer look at how to set up your hoops for year-round success. Now, here is an end view of a raised bed. The plastic is stretched as taut as possible over 3/4 inch PVC pipes. They're spaced here about 3 feet apart, which seems to work best for us. Now, these hoops are spaced more like 4 feet apart, and for heavy snow, I think that's pushing it. So going into winter, we also add these lath strips, these wood lath strips, and we secure them with screws on top of the raised bed frame. Now, this end view also shows what width you'll need. In other words, you want to measure the length of your PVC pipe and include enough plastic to overlap a bit. In addition to the lath, we often secure the plastic ends that we open and close using these 2-inch binder clips. Now, one last thing, in addition to protective plastic, mini hoops also support, say, fish netting to keep out rabbits, deer, dogs, cats, and other critters, and mesh like this tulle fabric to prevent root maggots and other pests from devastating your crops. I just want to emphasize that this isn't just for wintry conditions. It could be conditions in warm climates that get cold occasionally or deal with heavy winds. I use it to cover up trays of seedlings when I'm hardening off. If let's say that you have covers on your raised beds and you go, well, that's great, Marion. I'm going to be gone all day. If I leave them on there, it might be 32 degrees out there, but the sun is going to heat up that raised bed. Or even during the summer, it's going to heat up the raised bed. So just like having a greenhouse or a hoop house, you need to provide ventilation. And that's why we have the ends, so we can just roll them up easily and it gets protection. The plants get protection from the top, but the wind or the breeze can blow through and it won't overheat. Yeah, I love this stuff. We have our hoops up year round, like the picture I showed you showing the tulle fabric over there. At first I thought keeping the hoops up all year was going to be a pain in the you know what. But it was actually more of a pain to install them in the spring or, take them out, in the spring or install them in the fall. Or so instead we just leave them in. And now that I'm getting, hey, my birthday's tomorrow. Now that I'm maybe one day older tomorrow, I've really become accustomed to having those hoops there for me when I need a little support. I'll grab a hoop with one hand and I'll lean into the raised bed from the side, and then I'll weed or prune or do something, and I just have that extra support. So I really like having those hoops there. And the PVC, uh, we've had some PVC lengths for 20 years, and we get extreme sun, you know, day length in the summer, not nearly the heat, I'll grant you that, but they go through about everything you could throw at it. Okay, and thanks you guys for your questions, and I'll cover more when next we meet, okay? It's snowing here, and I'm gonna go to my birthday dinner tonight.